Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Code Veronica again, and mainly going over what would improve the game in a remake. We have spoken about what we could expect in terms of just what we have in remakes at the moment, but I think today we're going to go over what would make the game better overall. Some of it will be the same points as before, so I really do think a lot of what the remakes have done already will make Code Veronica very, very good with a remake, but there are other things that need to change in this game as well, I think. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. So it goes without saying, it's a remake, so it's going to be in the RE engine, which means it's going to look really good, and it'll probably be a third person over the shoulder, similar to 4, 2, and 3 remakes. And again, I do kind of want to reiterate that it will play a lot more like the Resident Evil 2 remake, probably more so than the 4 remake. Obviously, Resident Evil 4 is an action game, Resident Evil 2 was a kind of classic survival horror, so if you play Resident Evil 4 and expect Code Veronica to be like that, with a remake, that is not the case. I know a lot of people probably already know that, but for any new players who have recently got into Resident Evil 4 or the remakes in general, this one will feel a lot more like Resident Evil 2 than Resident Evil 4. Which for me is definitely not a bad thing. I think I prefer the survival horror versions of Resident Evil over the action focused ones. They're all very, very good in their own right, but games like Resident Evil 2, 3, the original, RE7, I prefer that style of Resident Evil over like 4, 5, and Village, the more action focused ones. I still really like those games and hold a couple of those games really high up in my kind of rankings of the games. But in terms of the gameplay side of things, I do prefer the limited inventory, ink ribbons, all that cool stuff, and hopefully that remains in place. Gameplay side of things, again, third person over the shoulder, very similar to RE2, a bit slower than 4, a bit more methodical, but again, a lot of fun. Characters. Now, there are a few characters I think do need to change a lot. I think Claire is fine as she is, and again, it will be no surprise if they do use the voice actor and the model from Resident Evil 2. I think that makes perfect sense. I think the VA and the model for the RE2 remake for Claire are really, really, really good, so there's no reason not to. Steve needs to change, in my opinion. He does have moments where his character does feel good, and there is a sad backstory to him. But saying that, I think his character is just straight up annoying for the most part. His voice really bugs me. I don't know what it is. That's just my opinion. And he's a bit of a creep towards Claire as well. So I think they need to change his character a little bit, make him a bit more serious and a bit less annoying. Same goes for Alfred Ashford as well. Like, I think he's a good villain. Don't get me wrong, he's a good villain, and both the Ashford twins are good villains. But Alfred's kind of a questionable one. I think how he's portrayed in the original game won't kind of fit with nowadays audiences. I could be wrong, but I think a lot of what the character is like in the original game wouldn't sit very well with modern audiences, so they probably need to change that as well. If you know, you know. I'm not going to go into details, but if you know what he does in the game, you'll know what I mean. Alexia Ashford is fine. She's a great villain, great final boss. Definitely kind of keep that character the same as much as possible. And then Wesker, he's an interesting one. So he has a new voice actor, and I believe from what people have said, it's the same VA who does his voice in Dead by Daylight. And it's very well done. He looks really good in the Resident Evil 4 remake, so it wouldn't surprise me if they use the same model, same VA. Obviously he'll be aged down a little bit because the Code Veronica set way before, well not way before, but quite a bit before Resident Evil 4. So he'll probably look a little bit different, but keep the same guy, keep the same kind of model, and I'm sure that'll be fine. Maybe incorporate him more into the game, because although he is a big part near the end of the game, it'll be cool if he has more influence over the main game as a whole. That'd be pretty cool. Overall improvements, off the top of my head, the bosses are pretty good. The bosses are well done for the age of the game. I do think some of them need a bit of improving. The Worm kind of comes to mind. The Nosferatu, I think that Nosferatu boss is really, really good. But I do feel like they should change that slightly. The fight with the torrent on the back of the plane, that needs a change. That fight is so annoying. They'll probably keep it in, but it needs a bit of attention, I would say. Certain sections as well with certain enemy types, the moths are like a notoriously annoying enemy in this game. So I'd say with those, remove them or significantly improve the AI of them, which I have no doubt will happen because of the modern day engines. I'm sure they behave a lot better. Same goes with the spiders as well. Just improve those as well. Although there's a certain trend with games lately that have spiders in where they have like an arachnophobia option toggle. So maybe remove them. Because one thing you'll probably not know if you haven't played the original Resident Evil 2, there was spiders in that game. and they're not in the remake. So maybe they just cut them out because people do have genuine phobias of spiders. So there you go, maybe they won't make an appearance at all. Which is interesting considering a boss in this game is a spider. So we'll see. Maybe they'll keep them in, maybe they'll remove them entirely. That would be an interesting thing to see. But as a whole, you know, for Code Veronica, it definitely needs attention. I think compared to, you know, games like the original Resident Evil remake, Zero and stuff like that, those games play better. There are things with those games that could be improved, don't get me wrong, but especially with Zero. But with Code Veronica, it does need some kind of attention. Like I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of the game. I do appreciate why people like it, and I do have some positive things to say about it. Like, I don't overall hate the game, I do quite like some of it, but it's not really up there for me. But I do agree with the fact that it does need that attention more so than others in a lot of different areas of the game. But that's pretty much going to do it. That's kind of what I would see would improve the game. If you have anything to add, do let me know in the comments. If you agree with what I've said, do let me know. If you disagree with things I've said, do let me know. But yeah, as always, thank you all for coming by. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe for more Resident Evil content every single day. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.